kindergarten. Welcome to Reader's Workshop today. I am excited to continue talking to you about things that avid readers do. I hope that you have had a chance to try out some of the ideas and kind of have a reading play date and kind of bring some fun into your reading. This week we're going to kind of continue talking about those reading play dates and kind of talk a little bit more about some of the options on that chart that we shared with you. It's also linked in today's plans so that you can get back to that easily and see those ideas that you can choose to share your books, okay? So today we wanted to really talk a lot about the choice on there that says play pretend, and those choices under playing pretend, acted out using gestures. And so reading is a lot like pretending. So avid readers act out a story in their mind every time that they read a book. And so one thing that avid readers do is that they pay really close attention to things in the book. That could be the words, that could even be things that are in the pictures that maybe aren't even mentioned in the words, to help you as you're deciding how to act out that story. So I want you to take a minute and I want you to think about your favorite movie. So when you have your favorite movie in your mind, I want you to think about, how do you think that movie was made? What do you think the first thing that they had to do to make that movie was? And maybe share with the mom, dad, brother, sister, someone sitting around you. Okay, so some of you might be thinking, well, the first thing they had to do is they had to get a video camera. And that's a really good idea. But I want to talk to you about that. The first thing that had to happen was that there had to be an author that writes the story, that writes the book. And then after that, they had to get actors who read that story over and over again until they knew that story by heart well enough that they could act it out. So just like we talk about all the time that readers read books over and over, it doesn't matter if I've read it before, then I read it over and over until I finally have read it so much that I know that story by heart. That's what happens when people make these movies. These actors read the story over and over until they know it by heart well enough to act it out. So I want you to think about, I know today you might be thinking, oh man, we got on here for a Reader's Workshop mini lesson and we're talking about movies. That seems crazy. But I want you to think about why we might be talking about movies and how they're made and what that has to do with reading. So what it has to do with our reading is that you might want to turn some of your favorite stories into a movie. Okay, so during your reading play date, if you choose playing pretend, I want you to read that story over and over until you feel like you know it by heart and that you can become an actor and you can act that story out. You could pretend to be Pete the cat, or you could pretend to be Pigeon, or whoever the character is in your story that you're reading, and you pretend to be that character. Now, if you can, you might want to recruit brothers or sisters or even mom and dad to help you out and be some of the other characters. If they can't, if they have things going on that they can't do that, you can totally do this on your own and have a lot of fun doing it. So I want you to practice this and read it lots and lots of times so you know it by heart, so you can act this story out. And this is going to help to make you a much better reader. And I want to tell you why. Because today I want to teach you that really good readers act out a story in their minds every time you read. And if the page says something like, the biggest billy goat trip-trapped across the bridge, like in the Three Billy Goats Gruff, then avid readers trip-trap yourself and pretend to be going across that bridge. You can do that in your mind until you're ready to get up and use those gestures to act it out. But reading is a lot like pretending. It's a lot like going to the movies. And so I want you, as you're deciding how to pretend, pay close attention to the things that you see in the words and in the illustrations that might help you decide, how am I going to act this story out? Okay, so I want to, as we talk about this, I want you to think about things that you've worked on this year. You've practiced lots of skills like spelling words. We learned the word at on the word wall, and then you might have written that word at, and you might have put a C in front of it, and that would make the word cat. You could have erased that C, and then you could have put an R in front of it to make a really scary rat. So even as a writer, you've practiced these skills. Some of you have practiced this with tying your shoes. You might not have known how to tie your shoes, and it might be something you practice over and over again until you know how to do that. So there's lots of things that you practice over and over. And the more fun ways you find to practice these things, then the more fun you have practicing and the better you become at it. So we want to use playing pretend to help us practice our reading skills in a super fun way. Okay, so I kind of want you to practice for just a second before we go off to read kind of your pretending skills. So I want you to think about if you have a very wiggly tooth and maybe you've been waiting on it to fall out and maybe just finally, just now, it came out. So I want you to pretend, show someone sitting by you, what would you do? How would you act that out? So take a minute and think about, oh my goodness, how would I act if my tooth just came out? I've been waiting for a long time. So some of you might have put your hands to your mouth. Some of you might have had a surprised face. Some of you might have held out your hands like you were holding your tooth in your hand. So all of those are the action part of pretending. So I want you to do the actions, but I also want you to think about the words. What would you say? Who would you talk to if your tooth fell out? Maybe you would say, ouch, or maybe you would call for mom or dad, please help. Maybe you would reach for a tissue to hold in your mouth because sometimes it might bleed just a tiny bit if you lose a tooth. Maybe you would pretend to put that tooth under your pillow. So I want you to think about how you could use your pretending skills, the actions like holding my hands, but also the words, what would I say, and who would I talk to as I acted these things out. So as you read today, I want you to try this with one of your books. I want you to have a lot of fun with it. Turn yourself into an actor and decide, how could you do this? I want to show you one example with one book that we have read recently, and then I'm going to send you off to try it today, okay? All right, so I chose to use Not Norman. Okay, so I want you to think about, I'm going to turn to a part in this story that I think would be a good part to show how you could act it out. So I'm trying to find the part. Remember that he got the fish for his birthday and he didn't really want the fish. But right here, this page right here, I kind of want to show you the picture a second. I know you like to see the pictures and kind of remind yourself what's happening. But then I want to share with you the words. Okay, the words say, the next day I take Norman to school with me. If I talk him up real good during show and tell, maybe someone will want him. On the way there, we see my friend Austin. So I'm going to stop there and kind of think about how I would act that part out. So the next day I take him to school with me. So I might pretend to be holding my goldfish bowl. And as I pretend to walk, I would walk really slowly and carefully because I would be pretending that I didn't want the water to spill out as I was walking. So I might pretend to walk super slow and be careful not to spill that water. And then maybe if I talk him up really good, I might pretend to be talking to my friends, and I might think about what would I say if I'm going to talk him up really good. Look at Norman, look how cool he is, and tell all the good things about my fish. He's really pretty, he's quiet. What would I say? So I want you to try this today with one of your books, and I want you to have a lot of fun. Maybe you could recruit some help from mom, dad, brother, or sister, If not, you can totally have fun with this. You could even use your stuffed animals to pretend to be a character in your story. But this is a fun way to practice those reading skills and to help you to pay close attention to all the details you hear in the story. So have a lot of fun with this. Feel free to share some of your acting out with us if you'd like. We'd love to see it. But have a great day and have fun being an actor. Bye.